header cell. Now,
Recording is on.
table header cell for columns or rows are wrapped in what? The th tag. So I'm trying to use this table that we have here to show you what each of these tags are so that you can understand them so well, because it's very important we understand what these tags are based off this table, because we will also still be using these tags eventually at some point in our class. Now, the TD tag is the standard data cell inside the row. So, for example, this one is going to be a TD, this one is going to be another TD, this is going to be another TD, another TD. Same for every one of them. Okay. So, and once again, this one at the top, which is the header, is wrapped in a th tag. Then each of them is going to what? Th inside a th tag. Then you now have your text. Then for these ones, once again, you are going to wrapping them inside what? A tr tag first. Tr tag, because tr tag is what? Table row. So one is a row, and that one is a row, another row, and so on and so forth. So you wrap them what? In a table row, tr tag. Then for each of those elements, each of those cell, you wrap it in what? Td tag. Okay, that's how HTML tables are built. They are built with, they need to be built with precision and with careful understanding of how tables work. Okay, if you are following, please give a thumbs up. All right, thank you for that. So now, next off, we are going to be coming towards CSS. What does CSS actually does? We have talked about this, separating HTML presentations, CSS, and what are 3 ways to really write CSS. I think I gave a little brief of CSS on Thursday, but then what are the 3 ways to write CSS? You can use either inline. You remember I told you something about internal CSS last week, where I showed you the fact that a particular HTML file that has been built, but with internal CSS. So internal CSS is another way to write CSS. And the third one, the last but not the least, is the external way, external using external CSS file approach. And that is the best practice. And in today's practical session, we are going to be using the external CSS file approach. And I'll be showing you how you can link 2 files together. When you create your HTML file and your CSS file in a separate place, you can link them together. I'll show you how you can do that. And I would love for us to do it alongside also, so that we can understand how these things really work. Now, the first one, which is inline CSS, is the one you write inside your code. Okay, I would like for us to see a sample. This is what, okay, let me come over here. So say for example, you're trying to write your style, and you write it what? With something like this, with 20 pixels, height 20 pixels, something like this. This is what we call it inline. Inline. Okay, inline styling. You are writing it with your HTML. So some people do this, but it's not the best approach. In fact, it just makes your, because sometimes you need a lot of styles, and it just makes your HTML so cluttered. Okay. The other one, which is internal styling, is one we had done last week, where we wrapped all of our styles in a style tag. Then we're now what writing the class selector. These are selectors. Then we what write the classes for it. This is still fair, but when you are trying to build good applications that will stand the test of time, you have to use what? External CSS. External CSS, where you write all of your CSS in a particular file or multiple files, and you link them with your HTML. Like I said earlier, I'll be showing us how to link this CSS with the HTML when we are practicing. So start downloading your VS Code if you haven't, and so that you can be able to what, join us while we are doing it. Okay, so now I need to teach you also, I need to show you the syntax of CSS syntax. It's very important to know how to write these languages. You already know how to write HTML. You already know that, okay, these are the tags we have. We have the HTML tag, we have the head tag, we have the h1 tag, h2 tag, and so on and so forth. But you also understand that, oh, to write this tag, you have to what? Open the brackets, open the tag, and also have a closing tag. You already understand some syntax based on the things I've said earlier. Now for CSS, there are also approaches to write it. Okay, CSS does not necessarily use tag, but actually they use what selector. Okay, selector is what they use. Now, for each selector, you then have what properties and values. How do I mean? Now, let me show you a sample. Over here, we have what we have. Let me use this one as a sample for us. This header style. Okay, can you see my screen clearly? Please confirm you can see my screen clearly. I'm going to also zoom in so that. Okay, okay, thank you. So now this is what the selector. All right, we have the selector. This is the selector. The header is what we are trying to what style. Then you open your what curly braces. Always know that you have to close your curly braces, if not you have errors on your file. You see one error over here, so you have to close your curly braces. Now this is a property. We have lots of properties in CSS, lots of them, and I'll also be talking about them. So this is the property in CSS, and this is the value. You can have multiple properties and you have values for them, and that property is value for it and that property value for it. So first of all, you need to know that you have your selector. This your selector is going to be referencing what is going to be referencing a particular selector you have created here. If you did not create it here, you would not be able to use it in your HTML file. Do you understand? You have to create it here and also what reference it here so that they can be connected. We'll see even much more in detail when we are doing our practicals. So you can also use what you can use class, which is the full stop. You can use ID, which is a hash, this hash sign. You can use combinators and you can even use pseudo classes. Okay, and you can even use your elements. Now, for example, the one we will be using mostly for this particular training today, we'll be using more of class. We reference it with a what with a dot. If, for example, wanted to use the ID, we'll do what id equals to, let's say, header id, right? And over here you can now say, oh, you want to reference what header id. All right, these are you reference what with id. But most times you see most people reference it with what with a class, which is with the full stop. All right, yeah. Moving on, there's what we call the box model. Okay, the box model. This is not often talked about, but it's something that is very, very crucial. We all know, we all have an understanding of. Okay, the box model is for you to understand how contents are perceived in your browser. Okay, what you want to use always is what box sizing of border box. All right, we have different other box sizing approach, but what you want to always use is box sizing of what border box. And over here, I'll be showing you how this whole box model works. When you have your content, all right, just outside your content, you have what your padding. Okay, outside your content, you have your padding. Outside your padding, you have your what your margin, and covering the whole thing, you have your what your border. I'll be showing you a particular sample of this also. Okay, so that padding is the space you give your elements. See it as some space you give your elements, some breathing space for your elements. Margin is one outside your element, and border is like a line that is around your element. Okay, padding is some space you give inside your element. Margin is the one outside your element, and border is some space that is surrounding your what your element. All right, we would still in our practical sessions you would see how all of these things work out. Colors in CSS. So talking about colors, there are different ways to name colors. You can use your X color code, you can use your RGB color code, you can use RGBA, HSL, and so on and so forth. Now, for example, with these colors, you'd see the color and their color codes. Color codes, if you're using X format, which is what is mostly used today, you'll see what it's in 6 characters. FFA 500, for example, FF0000, FF8000. So this I'm going to be asking everyone this one. Let's see who gets it first. Which color code is black? Color black. Can anyone tell me? Anyone knows it there?
00000.
Thank you so much, Jamila. You seem to be very conservative with these things. That's great. That's great. That's great. 000 000 000. All zeros is what color black. How about color white? Anyone? Great. Thank you so much, Albert. Thanks so much, Albert. So I see some of us here know about colors. However, we may not be able to, be able to understand. Oh, to know explicitly what violet is or what indigo is, that's fine. But then, the main essence of this is to actually tell us that. Thank you, Lewis. The main essence of this is to actually tell us that what for colors you can use X colors. You can use RGB, RGBA, HSL, and HSLA. Okay, and these are just like samples of how those colors are. So it's not great practice to write blue in your CSS, or to write brown in your CSS, or to write red in your CSS. You actually have to get the color codes and you put them in your what, in your code. All right. Okay. So next thing I'll be talking about is typography. All right. Now this typography in a way relates to how you will style your elements, how you will style your text in particular. All right. You see, last week I talked about the fact that we can. Who remember that where I mentioned the fact that we can use multiple fonts on our web pages and web application. If you remember, can you tell me the site I have provided at the time? Anyone?
Google Font.
Google Font, exactly. And the URL being what? Fonts.google.com. In case you missed that class, you need to check it out. There were a lot of links was dropped, and it's very helpful links that you'll be needing even as time goes on when building your web applications. Okay, so back to what we're saying. Now, for typography, you need to style your text using various attributes. For example, font family. Okay, font family helps you define the typeface that was used for that text. Okay, it helps you control the personality of the text, the readability of the text, and even the tone. Okay, you see, all sites do not use the same font, right? For some sites, it's like very bold, sharp font. For some sites, it's very, very tiny font. Some sites, different fonts. So it's because of the way the tone they want that site to give out. That's the kind of tone of font they pick from. Okay, so you don't just use any font anyhow. You want to understand the kind of application you're trying to build, and from that you what try to research on the font that will suit the application. And I also downloaded a font for our project today. You will see how that works, and you see how it was linked also. So if you missed the last class, you may be able to get that again on this class. Okay, just pay solid attention and you will get it. All right. Font size sets the size of the text. Now, while I say these things, let me also show you something. These things really relate to what your CSS. Let me search for where we have something about font. So you see this font size. I see it was set as what 16 pixels. So really you can set it as 100 pixels, 5 pixels. The higher you go, the larger it gets. Okay, so that's this one. This value really doesn't matter. It could be larger, it just depends on how big you want the text to be or how small you want it to be. If you want it to be very small, you put something like maybe 10 pixels. If you want it to be very big, you put something like maybe 60 pixels and so on. But the main thing you need to understand is this property here, font size. So like I said there, it says the size of the text. All right, that's what you need to understand, the size of the text. So if you want to set that size of the text, you use what? Font size. If you want to define the kind of font to be used, you use what? Font family. Don't forget, there will be quiz at the end of the class. So now if you want to control how bold or how light the text would appear, use what? Font weight. On my screen right now, you would notice that we have what? OneDev, very bold here, you have typography not as bold as this, and you have typeface not also as bold as typography. Now, this one, first of all, the difference between this and this and this is in several things. First of all, font size is different. This is a very big text, this is smaller text, and this is even smaller than this guy. Font width, this is like bolder, this is bolder than this text, this is also bolder than this text. Okay, so font width will show you how bold you want the text to be. All right, font width, font weight show you how bold you want it to be, or how light you want it to be. Now, line height works for the space between your lines. Okay, so say for example you are trying to write some. Okay, let me show you something. By the way, yes, the portfolio we are going to be building, I didn't plan on showing you all now, but then here you have it. So here is what we'll be building today, and just for the for illustration purposes, just to show you how line height works, I'm going to be changing the line height of this so you can see how it actually works. Okay, so in a minute. Okay, so this is the about content class. So let's look for the about content class style. Okay, now so this is 1.8, right? So let me change it to what, 3.8. So you see it. So basically it is what the spacing between the lines. Changing the spacing between the lines is what you really call the what, the line height. All right, so if you want the spacing between the lines to be less, you make it lesser and it reduces. If you want it to more, you make it what, bigger, and it increases basically. Okay, that's basically what line height does. Text align basically aligns your text horizontally within its container. So you can have left, you can have right, you can have center, you can have justify. So really, if for example you want your text to be aligned to the right, you use what, text align of what, right. If you want it to be aligned to the left, you use what, text align of what, left. You want to be centralized, use what, text align of centralized. Who can tell me what text align style, text align value was used for these guys here? These ones that were written here. What would the text align value be? Anyone? Anyone?
Left.
Left, exactly. Because these texts are aligned to the left. All of these texts are aligned to the left. Okay. But you see in some applications, maybe for one reason or the other, they want it to be aligned to the right. You just need to put text align of what, of right. All right. Moving on. Next thing is color. Color will help you set the text color, the color of your text. So you notice that on this our, okay, most of this is black, but let me change one. Okay, this is, so you see 555, right? So even on your VS Code, please, once again, if you haven't downloaded VS Code, now it's time to download it. If you need the link, drop it on the group that you need the link, and someone will provide you with the link. Okay, so that you can join us on our practical for today. Please don't miss it. Okay, so say for example I use this color, which is 0142B1, that which is the blue, right? And I save it and I come over here, see this. Okay, see this. If you're excited to see this, by the way, you can drop off a clap emoji. So this would really what, change the color of your what, of your text. All right, and it changes it immediately. So that would really what, is what we use the word color for. So you see this color, that's what we use the color property for. Let me take this back to where it was. Okay, letter spacing will adjust the space between characters. Now what do we call characters? Characters are what, these are characters. Each of these guys are characters. Let me zoom in so you can see my cursor. Each of these H is the character, E is the character, L. So each are characters. So if you want to increase the spacing between each of those characters, you use what? You use letter spacing. So now let's see letter spacing. Let's say 20 pixels. See this. See how wide it is. So let's say 5 pixels. See. So you really can style anything possible using CSS. You just need to know the properties to use and you'll be good. Okay? So let's close this up and let's come back here. Next, we are going to be using what we are going to be talking about is what text transform. Now, what does text transform really does? Text transform controls the capitalization. So you have values of what uppercase, lowercase, capitalize, and so on. So uppercase meaning that what you want to make your text what in caps. For example, text transform uppercase. So you can see this, right? If you say what capitalize, you can see what you can see this. So you see that each of these text are starting what capital letters. Each of them are starting with capital letters. That's what that one does. Then you say what lowercase all starts with small letters. All right. So I'm trying to show us how it works directly before we even go into practice, so you can see how these things work and how it's not just based on my explanation. Okay. Now, font style it defines what the style of your font. Do you want your style font to be italics? Italic is those font that is always slant. Okay, all those fonts that you see with slant, that's italic. Or do you want it to be normal text? Okay, before you can have quotes and you can have other type of styles. So let's say for example we have this font style. You can see we have multiple suggestions. So let's say italic, for example. Let me use that to show you the sample. So you see this slant styles. Okay. So text decoration will add line to your text. You can have underline. If you want to underline your text, for example, you use text decoration and you put the value as what underline. You can have line through, or you can set it as none. White space would control how your text are being wrapped. Okay, so if you don't want your text to break to the next line, for example this one, you don't want it to break to the next line, if you use white space and specify it, it can stay on the straight line till the end. Okay, it also has what usefulness. Now, this is just a little mental shortcut that I had created here for us to know of. Now, if you are looking at the family, from what family, font family, right? Looking at what, how does it look? How does it look? You're looking at size, you're looking at what, how big should it be? How big should it be? Or how small should it be? You're looking at weight, you're looking at how strong should this thing look? Okay, how strong should it look? You're looking at line height, how breathable, okay, because you want to put space in between, how breathable should it be? And you're looking at align, you say how should it sit? Should it sit all to the left? Should it sit all to the right? Or should it sit in the center? Okay, so this is just a mental shortcut for us to be able to remember these things faster. All right. Okay. Now, next thing we are going to be talking about is what layout. Layout. And on layout, we are going to be looking at flexbox first. All right, this also still relates to what CSS. This is more of CSS for today. We are going to be doing a lot more of CSS and little of JavaScript. We have done little of HTML initially, so more of CSS today. Now, Flexbox. When looking at Flexbox, what you want to look at first is that what property does it fall under? It falls under what the display property. Okay, and when you use the display property, the next thing you do is what you put the value being what flex. Okay, display flex. That way you have set the particular element to what to be a flex box element. Okay, so now I'll be telling you about the different flex-based properties we can have and what they mean. All right. First off, when you have display flex, you are basically turning your element into a flex container. Just like I said earlier, you are turning your element into what? A flex container. Secondly, flex direction. When you set direction of items, row, you can either set to both row or column. Okay. When you set the direction of your flex, you could set it to, oh, make it on row or make it on column. That will also I'll also be showing you the the practical we are going to be having. Next, we are going to be having what? Flex wrap. Basically, flex wrap will allow items to move to a new line if needed. Now, let's say for example, you have maybe 5 items that are in a flex container. That means you have already put the parent container to be a display flex. Now you have like five items. Now you want the items to go to a new line after some point. You basically use what? Flex wrap. All right, flex wrap. Flex flow is more or less like for direction, and also it works with flex wrap. All right, for direction and also for wrap. Justify content would help you to align your items either to the left, to the center, or to the right. Hello? Can anyone hear me?
Still hear you, Mr. Sim, loud and clear.
Okay, 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 okay. So, as I was saying earlier, justify content to allow you specify how you want to align your items. Do you want to align your items to the left, to the center, or to the right? So, based on whatever you want to do on that, you use what? Justify content. While align items means you want to align each item of that flex container. You want to align each items on top, to the top, middle, or bottom. That also would really be using it on our today's project. Align content will align your rows when your items are wrapped. All right, and gap basically adds spaces between your items. All right, this I assure you that these are very very simple concepts. The main thing is to understand how they work from the basics level, and when you start doing things on it, when you start having practical sessions on it, you definitely understand how all of these things work. Okay. Next, we are going to be looking at other properties for flex. We have flex grow. Flex grow will allow your items to grow and take enough space in your container, while flex shrink will allow an item to shrink when the space is small. So when the space of the maybe the container is small, the item will shrink as much as possible just to fit. Okay. Flex basis will set the starting size of an item. All right, the starting size of an item is always set using what? Flex basis. Why flex? Just flex itself is a shortcut. You can use what? Grow, shrink, and size on just flex. All right, so flex itself is a property where you can specify values for all of these things. Now, align self will align one item differently from another. So, align self, for example, now is used on a particular item. So when you're on a particular item that the parent container has this display flex on, when you specify what? Align self on it, you can specify the value for that. All right, and it will align just that item differently from others. Now, lastly, order will change the position of an item. So you can specify that, okay, this item you want it to come up first. You specify the order. If you specify the order to be one, the item goes to the top. All right, and other ones follow. So order will help you what? Change the position of your items. Now, this is the easy reminder for every one of us. When you're looking at should this thing be on a row or a column, use what? Flex direction. When you are trying to what? Space things between each other, use what? Justify content. And when you are trying to align things, use what? Align items. And if you are trying to control the size of your element, use what? Flex. Okay? If you are following, please drop a thumbs up. Okay, thank you. And we move to CSS grid next. CSS grid. CSS grid. Um, can you still see my screen? Okay, okay, people can still see my screen. All right. Thank you for dropping that. So next, aside flexbox, under layout, top layout tool we need to know in CSS is what? The CSS grid. Okay, you see this very beautiful layout I put here can be achieved using what? CSS grid. And trust me, it's also going to be very, very responsive. All right, and it is when you know so well how CSS grid works, you'll be able to do very beautiful things like this. All right, now just like flex, when you want to use flex, you use what? Display flex on the container, right? On for grid, when you want to specify a grid container, you use what? Display grid. Display grid. So what display grid basically does is that it turns an element into a grid container. It turns what? It turns an element into a grid container. Grid template columns, on the other hand, we set the number and width of the columns. Okay, how many columns do I want for this grid container I'm trying to set? Do I want 5 columns? Do I want 6 columns? Do I want 3 columns? All of those will be specified based of what the grid template column that you have set. Grid template rows would specify what? The height of the rows. Okay, the height of the rows. That, and it doesn't, it's not all of these properties. One I should mention, it's not all of these properties you use in a layout like this. For example, for this kind of layout, you realize that these rows, they don't have equal height. Because of that, you cannot use this kind of grid template rows. For example, you can't explicitly use it here. All right, there are also like other grid properties you'll be able to use, but I'm going into it step by step. But it's just good we know all properties and we just know what they do, so that we can be able to use them at some point in our web pages. Grid template areas would name the part of the layout that you have. So for grid template layout, for each part of the layout, you give it a name and you specify the layout in grid template areas. Okay. For gap, just like flex, it also adds space between your rows and your columns. For row gap will add space between your rows only. And same for gap. Column gap will add space between your columns only. All right. So say for example you use only gap will add for both rows and column. But if you specifically say, oh, you want to add gap for only row, you only specify that, oh, add row gap, then 10 pixels. That will just give you 10 pixels between your rows. All right. Justify items basically would align items either left, center, or right inside the cells. Same for align items, and place items is also similar. Is a place items shortcut for what? Align items plus justify items. Now, all of these alignments and justification of items is just similar to how flexbox also works. Okay, justify content will move the whole grid either left, center, or right based on however we want it. And align content will move the whole grid either up or down. Place content also same thing, is shortcut for align content plus justify content. All right. And now this is where we look. Some people will become always confused. They always ask me that, oh, where do I use flex, or where do I use grid? Oh, they're always confused about things like this, but it's very, very easy to understand. So when do you use flex? Use flex when the layout is only one direction. Maybe it's just a row or it's just a column. It's not something complex. Use flexbox for that. Another scenario where you use flexbox is when you are aligning items in a line. Okay, if you know that, oh, you just want to align items in one line, if you want it to be aligned to the center, you want it to be aligned, horizontally or whatnot, use what flexbox. Now, content size is more important than what than layout. So when the content size is more important than layout, you also use what flexbox. And when you want easy centering, or you want to be able to center your elements easily, you want to be able to space your elements easily, just use flexbox. Okay. The examples of places where you want to use flexbox is things like navbar. Let's say you have multiple buttons in a row. Let's say you have card actions. You are trying to center a content. Just use flexbox. Okay. So just think of what things that are flowing in one line. All right, and you can use flexbox for that. Now, when do you use grid? Use grid when the layout is two directions or even more. Okay. Let's say for example you want to have rows and at the same time you want to be able to have columns. Use layout for that. All right. When your page structure also matters than your content size, realize that the structure of your page will matter more than the size of your content. You also want to be able to use grid. It's very important. When you know that you want full control of your layout positions, if you want full control of your layout positions, you also want to use grid. All right. And if you are going to be building sections, different sections in your page, you also want to use grid. So grid, you want to see grid as a very much structured way for arranging your what your content, all right, or your UI. So example of when you use grid is when you are creating like layout for your page, when you are creating dashboards. Yeah, dashboards use grid heavily. Okay. When you are creating card grids, or when you are creating image galleries. Image galleries are also like compartmentalized, so they also need what they also be using what grids. So just think about boxes that is placed on a board. When your UI looks like boxes in a board, then you want to use what? You want to use grid. All right. Now, responsive design. I know I had spoken about responsive design. I know I've spoken about responsive design before now, right? Um, However, I'm going to be talking a little bit more on it. Now, you see in this picture that I have, we have a what was it called now? A hero section, but desktop view. We have tablet section, but what on tablet view, and we have what the smaller section on phone view. And if you look at each of them, they all look great, even on different devices. This is what we call what responsive design. Okay, this is the um the essence of what responsive design in building your application. And when building your application, you want to be able to put this meta tag in your HTML elements. Very important. Once you are able to put this, you'll be able to what make your web page responsive. All right. You set the meta tag, you put the name being viewport, you put the content just as it is here, and put initial scale of 1, and that way you'll be able to what sorry about that. That way you'll be able to what set your web page to be able to be responsive. Okay. It doesn't mean that you will not still put styles, you still have styles for responsiveness, but then this is the first thing you need to do. Okay. I hope you are following me. All right, all right, all right, all right, all right. Okay, so moving on. Yes, practical time. Drum rolls. We'll be starting out our portfolio page UI using HTML and CSS, and we'll cover everything that we have touched so far. All right, and who is ready for this? Who is ready for this? So, in a jiffy, I'll be sharing my screen and we would be able to see my screen. Okay. So, do we have our VS Code installed? If you have your VS Code installed, please. Yeah, Maxwell, I like the fact that you like to participate. Install VS Code and let's dive in. I'm giving us 5 minutes to get that set up so that we can start right away. So if you're ready, let me know. If you're ready, drop your comments. If you're ready, if you have a question, okay. Let me quickly guide you on how to install VS Code. Let me share my screen shortly so that you can follow me. Please watch as I show you how to do this. Now, once you open your new tab, click on download VS Code, Visual Studio Code. Okay. Once you click on download Visual Studio Code, you see this. You can see this first one here. You click on that, right? I'm using a Mac computer, but if you're using a Mac, you click on the Mac. If you're using Windows, click on the Windows, and basically you install. All right, that's all you need to do. That's all you need to do. And once you click install it, you install it, and you can get right into it. If for some reason you cannot download, you can use an online editor. You can use Replit. Okay. So you can just try to log in, but it's just going to be very nice if we can get your VS Code up and running, so you'll be able to have your files on your computer. Okay, so I'm going to be sharing my editor shortly, and we'll start in a minute. Okay, so please get your Visual Studio Code ready so that you can follow through. All right, so I'm sharing my screen now. Yeah, Esther, please, you can speak, please. I think you have a question.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. I don't know if you can hear me.
I don't know.
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I wanted to ask. So you asked us to, attach or include this Google Chrome of a thing to the VS Code, which I did. So I wanted to make use of it, and it's asking me to sign in to use AI features, whatever, to continue with this GitHub or my Google, which is my email. I don't know if I can use the GitHub, or I should just continue with my email.
Continue your email. Continue your email.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yes, but yeah, I think you muted.
Yes,
All
I've
right,
done
so just
that.
continue.
I've installed everything.
All right, that's great. That's great. So just continue your email and should be good to go. So, guys, once you open VS Code, this is what you should see. Okay, so you can click on open. Click on open. Basically, you want to go into I like to arrange my folders, so I'm just going to go into tutorial and something around new folder. Going to say and, let's open. Okay, so now in a particular project. What you can do first is you can create a file. So I'm going to say portfolio.html. Okay, so if at any point you missed out on something, please call my attention to it. And then the other thing we are going to be saying, we're going to say style.css. So really, This portfolio can be anything. It could be index.html. It could be, most times we want to use index.html, but I intentionally use portfolio just so you know that it could be anything. Okay, so yeah, but I think I'll leave it as index for this purpose. All right. So if we have other pages, for example, we can name it other names. All right. So let me be closing this now. Remember last week I had mentioned something about the fact that um when you start your HTML file, you want to be able to use this exclamation mark. That is a shortcut to really bootstrap your HTML file, and it gives you your what your HTML tag, gives you what your little head tag, and gives you your what your body tag. You can remember what I talked about responsiveness. It gives you the responsiveness meta tag out of the box, just so you don't have to like miss out on it, because some people forget these things, and but it just adds that with what you are trying to put in. Okay, and now this is our body tag where we'll be putting all of our content that we want people to see into. All right. If you are following, please drop a emoji. All right. All right. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Please, it's essential we keep following, because I'll be showing some things here that we need to take note of. All right. So now let me show you what we will be building. This is what we'll be building. Okay. We'll be having this top parts. Who can remember? Who can tell me what this upper part of the page is once again? I talked about it last week. Who can remember what this upper part of the page is? Anyone? Quick fingers. Anyone? Thank you. Focus. Header is the word. Header. Thank you. Header is this part. Now, what of these parts that helps you to navigate the pages? What is it called? This part that helps you to navigate. Anyone? Anyone? Thank you. Navba. Very correct, Albert. Very correct, Josiah. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, I like that we are following. So, and also the bottom part is what? Lastly, the bottom part is what? The footer. Thank you so much. The footer is where the bottom part is. All right. So let's delve right into it. So we already understand that we want to have a header here. So you realize that explaining the intricacies for the one and even the first part of the two was very, very essential. So that way, when you want to start writing your HTML, you don't just start writing div or you start writing a H1. You already understand about it is an header tag you need to use. So now what will come into our body tag? Remember I told you about comments last week, right? We'll be using comments also. But first of all, let's write our header tag. So VS Code already allows you to be able to type, and when you press enter, it wraps it up. But then, if you are not doing that, you want to be able to, if you are probably typing somewhere that is not VS Code, first open your what, less than sign, type header, close it, and it automatically closes it up for you. Please ensure that you have this closing tag. If you don't have the closing tag, it's not your web page is not going to run, and that won't be nice. Okay. So now, while we are trying to write this, let me start running what we have here also, so that we can start seeing the results. Someone saying something? I think someone's mic is unmuted.
Sorry, sir. Can you please recap? I mean, where you sell them, closing tab or something. Can you please show
Okay,
us
I was
again?
saying,
Thank
I
you.
was saying that yes, sure. Please, if in case of anything, just tell me and I would come again. So when you have your header tag and you close it, ensure that you have your closing tag. This is the closing tag. Okay, ensure you have this closing tag that I just highlighted. Because if you just have the open tag and you don't close it, it would not your code will not compile well. Okay, your code will not compile. So ensure you have the what? The closing tag. Okay, now moving on, because I want us to be able to at least finish a good part of this page, if not all, but a good part. I will finish up tomorrow. Okay, so now we have put the header tag. Okay, we have put the header tag. Now next we now start putting the content of the header inside a div, because remember a div is just like a box. So write div, and then now this is our container. The div is our container. Okay, now look at this. Now I'm trying to show you how, when you see a UI, how you actually write the HTML. Now, when you look at this header, you realize that you have two sides of it. One, this side, and this other side. This side can be like your logo area, and this side is your navigation area, right? So you come over here, and inside your container, you what have the first div for your logo. That's your first container for your logo. And under it, you have the second container for what? Your navigation. And because the second one is in navigation, what do you use? You don't use div, you use what? What's the tag we use? Anyone? What's the tag we use for navigation? For the nav bar? Great, 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 great. Thank you so much, Jamila. Nav. So nav is what we use for the other one. But the first one, since it's going to just be containing our you know, this part of our code, it's going to contain the name and this, so we can just use a container. All right. So now let's start putting the content into it. So we have the first one, H1. Remember, the H1 is what? Largest header text of the largest header text we can have, while H6 is the smallest header text we can have. Now H1, then you have what? Sorry. Sorry, please. I need to stop these calls from coming in. All right. I'm back. Sorry about that disruption. So, are you with me? Now, in your H1 tag, you can now specify a name. What name are we using for this portfolio? First person to respond. What name are we using for this portfolio? First comment. Okay. Eliud, you responded first, so I'm going to be using your name. Eliud. I didn't get your full name, but let me just use Eliud. I hope I spelled that correctly. And then we are going to be using a span element. You can use a span element for the smaller text under. All right. So let's say you are a developer, all right, full stack developer, because yes, you are in the full stack development class. So full stack developer. All right. So we're going to have that. Then now in your nav, in your navigation, in your nav bar, you want to have what? All of the links for your nav bar. Remember, your links are going to be what, using what? What tag are we using for our links again? Great. Thanks, Rono. Thanks, Rono. The A tag. The A tag. Very, very good. Very, very good. So A tag. Now, A tag always has a property which is called what? href. All right. Href. Now, first of all, if I just put A tag and I do home, right, which is the first tag. First of all, let's see what we have so far. See what we have so far. I hope you can see it. I hope you can see it. This is what we have so far. Now, if I just write home, it's not this A tag will not link anywhere. See, if you over on it, you see the cursor type, it's like a text. Okay, it's like a text because it's not seeing it as a link yet. Now let me change it, and now let me update it and use href and specify what home, that this is the section it goes to, id home. I'll still explain this idea how it works. Now you see that it has changed. It has now changed to an actual link. Okay, so when you are using your link, always ensure that you have the href also attached to it so that it can work well. So I'm going to have this one as work, and I'm just going to add my other elements about about services, services, contacts, and contacts. So basically, all I've just did is replicated the pages, I duplicated the pages, and I just updated it to the other words, other routes that we have. All right. So now when we look at this, you see what we have here. All the links are here, Eliud and the row. Okay. Good. 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 So now we have written the HTML tag for our header, right? Let's also write the HTML tag for our what hero section. Then once we write the hero section, we style them. All right. So we'll take it like that. We'll write the HTML. I've written HTML for this part. Only HTML. So you see how only HTML looks. No CSS here. You see how it looks already. So that's to tell you that HTML is just like the skeletal thing, while CSS is what gives it like makes it beautiful. So now let's create the hero section of this. So remember that I talked about was when you have sections. What did we say the tags would be for sections? What did I say the tag would be for sections? Anyone? 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 Sections tag. What tag do we use? What HTML tag do we use for sections? Thank you. Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Joe. Exactly. Section tag. Section tag is what we use to specify what section. You see that it is very, very simple because it's not some foreign name. You know, you are trying to create sections, just use section tag. You're trying to create header, use header tag. So it's not like you're trying to use create header and you're using something very, very dynamic. No. HTML is very, very simple. Just need to know what you want to create and use the tag for it. All right. So we are going to create the section tag. Make sure to have the opening and the closing tag. Then we are going to what? Have our container that holds, we just created a section. Next we have the what? The container that holds this everything in the section. All right. So we are going to what say div. All right. So inside that div, we have what? We now have an element here and we have an element here, but both of them are together. All right, both of them are together and they are aligned to the left. So we have the div for the contents. All right, we have, so this is for the container, this is for the content, and then we have our h1 text towards hello, I am this a UI designer. So no, I almost forgot. A UI designer based in Indonesia. Okay. Oh, Eliud, where are you from? So I can use your country, if possible. Right. So you can just drop that in the chat, and I'll pick it up. Okay. So um, I think someone's mic is muted. Okay, Kenya, Kenya, that's beautiful. Kenya, let me put that. Kenya. Okay. Okay. So now I will not say UI designer as a full stack developer. All right. So um next we are going to be having our buttons. These buttons are below. These two buttons are below. We need to now create them. Okay. So we are creating them below the text. So first of all, we have this div, and then we have the what first button text. The first button text says what get in touch with a wave sign. So we have get in touch, then wave. Then you have another button, download CV. Okay. So now we have successfully created the HTML elements for what for these two sections, the nav and the arrow. So you can see how they all look so ugly. So now we are going to be styling it so that it can look as beautiful as this. All right. So first of all, remember for CSS, you want to be able to first of all give your classes, give names to your classes, right? All we have just done is we have created a tag and we have put the content, but we have not specified the class name. All right. So that's what we start doing just now. All right. So we start by saying what class of header. All right. Then this one, this which is our container, we say class is what header container. And notice how I'm giving it very, very descriptive names. Always make sure you are giving your element descriptive class names. It's very important because when your class is a lot, that's what you'll be using to track this your code. Okay. Always use very descriptive names. Now for your nav, you use your class of nav, and that's all. We have already given most of our content classes. Okay. So I'll show you how you can be able to style this one from this class. All right, you don't need to give this H1 a class, you don't need to give this one element a class. All right. Now, next one for the hero section, we're going to be styling this also. Class hero. Then this one is going to be called um the hero container. While this is going to be called the hero content. All right. Then lastly, this other one is going to be called what? The buttons, the hero buttons. So you notice something how I'm using hero. So it's you help instead of just saying container, you can have several containers. See here we have container here too, but we have what header container. So if you use container here and use container here, so you can have a clash. But when you put hero container, you are specifying that okay, this container is what hero container. It's very, very important. Okay. So now we have specified the class, but our UI is still the same thing because we have not written the actual class names. We have not written the actual styles for this class. Okay, so now we now start to write the styles and we start to see how we can, you know, make it beautiful as what we have. Now, when you're writing your styles, the very first style you want to have, right, is your universal style, right? Universal style. Universal style would reset any style that you have on your browser. For example, you may just notice that there are some spaces that you did not specify and all of those things. Your the universal style will reset it. Now, what do you use to indicate that? You use the what asterisk and you do this. This is what you do first. Margin of what zero, right? Margin of zero. Okay, before that, let me also link it. Let me link it. So let me first of all give it a background color of red so that you can see that it's not showing yet. So you see it's not showing yet here. That's because we have not linked it with our what our HTML. We have not linked with our HTML yet. So what do? You basically what basically want to come here, use the word link, right? Now your link does not need a closing tag like this. It doesn't need a closing tag like this. You can just what close it on that line. Okay. So all you just need to do is use your rel property to specify that it's what is a style sheet. Specify that it's a style sheet. Then use your href to specify the file. Now the file we are using in this case is what style.css. So sorry about that.
Yeah.
Okay. So as I was saying earlier, now we have linked this style, and let's check it out now. You can see that everything is now red because well, we have been able to link it successfully. If this link is not provided, it's not going to link with our style sheet at all. Okay, so please note that. Please note that. So now we are going to remove this background red, and we are now going to start writing our styles afresh. All right. So like I said earlier, we are going to basically use what margin first of 0. We should remove all of the margin that we have. It's going to reset the margin. Then next we are going to what use padding of 0. We should remove any padding that is in our elements. You see that before this was added, there was some little bit of padding here. When I remove it, see, it has gone. Then lastly, we have what box sizing of what border box. You may not be able to see the effect here, but it has some effect that it does on the page, on your elements. So next, we are going to be starting the HTML element itself. Um, for that, we are going to be giving it a scroll behavior or smooth. We'll see the effect later, but not now, and I'll show you how the effect works. It just makes your page scroll well to the next section. You see how it's scrolling when you click? That's what that one does. All right. Next is the body elements. The body elements. Now, in the body element, you want to specify the font family, the things like line height, the color of the body, the page, the color, all of those things. That's what you want to specify here. All right. So basically, for this page, I'm going to be using inter font. So firstly, you specify the first font you want to use for your page. Sorry, please. A minute, please. All right. Okay, so I hope we are also having our pages set up. Please, if you're having any difficulty, please call my attention to it, please. Very important. I want to ensure that we are all following through. So now, when you specify your font here, remember we had said it earlier in the beginning of this class that font family is used to what? To specify the type of font you want to use. So I want to use inter font for this, right? Now, there's also what we call like fallback fonts. Fallback font is that, oh, if this font is not available, what font should we then use? Okay, that's basically what this is. So you really can specify other fonts. Um, we are not going to be using anything from this. So I'm just going to specify Apple system, black mint fonts, Segi UI. So it just picks, if this font is not available, it picks any of these other fonts that is available. That's just the idea of this whole thing. Okay. So line heights, we want to use 1.6, right, across this application. Then color of your application. So we want to use 1A, 1A, 1A. That's the color code. Then the background color we want to use what white, which is FFF, FFF. Like I said, guys, you don't just write white, WHIT. It will work, but it's not the best practice. Use the X color code. Okay. Now let's see what we have when we do that. So you can see the font type has changed. If you are following me, I have done this. You should now be able to see that the font family has now changed and it's no longer that old one we had before. All right. So next, we are going to be styling our link, okay, which is the A tag. Now you see that when I'm styling all of this HTML and CSS, I'm not putting dots yet because I'm styling the tag itself. Okay, I'm styling the tag itself. So I'm going to be using the A tag. I'm going to say what text decoration, none. Text decoration because we don't want that underline thing to show. So we are saying none. Then we are saying color to what inherit. Okay, because we don't want the color to be blue. We want it to inherit the color from what? From our body. So we are inheriting that from the parent component. Our parent component is what? The body element. All right, are you following? Now, next, we now will start what styling our header, our header area. So first of all, remember what I talked about padding. You give it a padding, right? So padding, first of all, we want to say that, oh, based on what we have here, the top spaces inside at the top, we want to give that a space. I want to give it a space down, but we are not going to give it a space left and right because the whole container would do that space for us. All right. So all we're just going to do is we are going to put what 20 pixels and 0. 20 pixels. This now when you're writing your padding or margin, it contains four digits like this or four numbers. Let's say 0 pixel, 0 pixel, something like that. So this is it starts from the top, then right, then bottom, then left. Okay, but if you don't just want to repeat yourself and you want to there are also shorthand ways and you want to use your shorthand for way, you really can just do what do 20 pixels, 0 pixel. So if you do something like this, you are trying to say 20 pixel for top and bottom, this one for what left and right. And if you do just 20 pixel for one, you are trying to say 20 pixel for all sides. All right. And if you explicitly say 20 pixel, 5 pixel, 40 pixel, 50 pixel, let's see how it looks. So you see this small, bigger, much bigger, and the biggest. So like this, like this, like this, and like this. They get that top, right, bottom, left. So, but we just want to put top and bottom, left and right. So we just do 20 pixels, which is for top and bottom, left and right, left 0. All right. So border bottom. Now border is that line, a line that you see here. You notice there's a very faint line over here, over here. So that's the line we are going to be adding now. So border bottom, we are going to be seeing 1 pixels solid and what gray color F0 F0 F0. Now let me use blah 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 so you can see 000. So if I use 000, let me refresh the page. So you notice that you can see what we have here, the border bottom. So border Remember when I was talking about box model, border is that line that is around your component. Padding is inside and margin is outside. Very important for you to note. Padding is inside, margin is outside, border is the line. So if I add the margin here now and I say margin 20 pixels, right? You notice something, see it outside the component. If I use our pesticide that I told you about on the one, you see that this margin is outside. Okay, so that's why it's good to understand the box model so you can know when to use all of these things appropriately. All right, so instead of 000, I'm using F0, and then I'm going to using position sticky. Sticky because I want it to what stick to the top when we scroll. Then I'm going to say top of zero. It should stick when it's at top of zero. Then background color of what FFF, which is white, and Z index. By the way, guys, um the background color is, we can shorten this because it is it is all six, like the fff is six characters. So since we can, it's all six, we can also shorten to fff. Okay, same as 000, it will still work for the whole full thing. You don't have to write it in full before you get it. But for something like F0000, it's good to write it in full, okay, because it is not all same characters. Okay, if you are following, please give a thumbs up. If you have your own, I would love to see it also, and I would love to see that we are all also getting along just well. Okay, thank you, Louise. Thank you, Louise. Thank you, Louise. Thank you so much. All right. So let's finish up our header so that we can also so yes, I have you've noticed, I'm trying to open my Chrome. Yeah. You've noticed the border is there. But you've noticed something. The header worked because I was using the tag. Alright, so it's picking the tag, but actually I want to use the class. So I'm just going to put a dot to it. And that will also still work. Now I'm going to go back to the header container, and I'm going to start with the maximum width. I want it with a maximum width of 1200 pixels. Then that means the maximum width it can contain. So that way, if it's more than 1200 pixels, it needs to what? It needs to shrink. It needs to shrink. Okay. So margin should be zero and auto. Now, if you notice, let me comment this one out. If you notice, this is already 1200 pixels, but because I have not put the margin into it, it's still towards the left. All right. So once I set a margin of zero auto, this is a way to centralize on the y-axis. Okay. So what this app does is that it gives margin and top zero, it gives margin zero to top and bottom, but auto to left and right. That way it makes it to be what in the middle. All right. See it now has equal spaces on left and right. All right. That's also a very good thing that you should note. Now we now have padding. 0 pixel top and bottom, but we want 40 pixel left and right. Now let's see what that does. So realize that what that one does is that what it gives us, you see this purple area, this some padding over here, some padding over here. Okay. Then we have what display flex. Now here comes our flex box. Now display flex, we now see that as soon as you put display flex, what happens? Automatically this one comes to what? This side, because what? Display flex by default uses what? Flex direction of what? Of row. Okay, flex direction of row. If I say what? Flex direction of column. Now you see it comes down back. Okay, now on top of each other. But if I say just display flex, by default it is what? Row. And if you want to explicitly state, you can just say what? Flex direction of row, but you don't need to. Now you then say justify content of what? Space between. That will what? Put a space between your content. just like the word says, justify content space between. You put space between your content. Okay. And the last thing we want to have here is what align on the items of center. This one what align the items on the x-axis to the center. Okay, that's what this one does. All right. Now, next we want to still style this area. This area, what did we call it in our HTML? We call it what the logo, and we have the h1 and the span element. So what? Go back to the logo. Your logo. Now, I'm going to be doing a new thing here, and that is what after your class name, you can also specify the element you want to style inside that class. For example, in that logo container, I want to style the h1. So you can specify logo and put h1 here and put your what curly braces. All right. And you then say what font size to be what 16 pixels. What happens? You see smaller, and you say what font weight to be what 600, and you say what margin bottom to what 2 pixels. So you can see what happens now. Gives it a space under. Now and then the other element, which is what the span element, we say what dot logo, then span element. So what this means is you are saying style the span element inside the logo class. You get this is the what this is the element that has the logo class, and this is the span element. So this is the span element we are trying to style now. All right. So we start that and say font size should be what 12 pixels, smaller than the h1, and the color should be what 888. All right. So we have this. So this is what we have now. Now on the right hand side, which is our what? Our nav. Our nav. We start styling it and we say what? Dot nav display what flex. Remember what happens when you do display flex? Everything stays on you know on a row. And already is existing on the row, so it doesn't change. So gap is what's going to be 40 pixels. What is gap once again? Gap is what the space between your elements. Space between your elements, 40 pixels. Then what do we do next? We now style each of the links. Now we then say what the nav, a tag, font size to what 14 pixels, color to what 333, transition to what want to transition the color, want to make the color fade a bit when we are changing it. So you can see that now. So that's basically what we have here. All right. So our header, I believe, is almost done. But now I want to show you one more thing. Lastly, when I was trying to tell you about styling your element, I also mentioned something about pseudocode. However, nobody asked me what pseudocodes are, but I will be showing you what they are. Now, when you try to pseudo styling, I mean, when you try to style the element, you can also specify some other attributes like after, backdrop, before, check, a lot of things. But for this one, we are just going to be using what over. So over is basically that that pseudo class that you give to an element when your mouse hovers on it. So I'm trying to say that when a user mouse hovers on this text, we want it to be what? Black color. All right. So you notice, let me zoom in. Let me zoom in well. Let me make this one lighter so that we can see the transition well. So you know that when I hover on it, it becomes well black. All right. And because of this transition we have here, it fades. If I move transition and I do this, it's sharp now. But once I show the transition, it fades in and fades out and fades in and fades out. All right. So that is basically it, guys. That is basically it. So we have already done the hero section. So next we have done the header section rather, and now we are going to be going back to the hero section. All right. So now for the hero section, we're going to say that hero going to say padding about 80 pixels, 0 and 60 pixels. So this one, for three characters, what it now means is that this is for top, this for left and right, and this for bottom. Okay, so this padding at the top, left and right will be 0, and padding at the bottom is 60. See, it's smaller than the one at the top. Okay, so next thing we are going to give it position of our relative, going to give it overflow of what hidden. All right. Position of relative is very crucial because sometimes in your HTML, some elements may want to float around, and because they want to float around, you don't want them to leave the parent container. That's when you give this kind of properties, relative position and overflow hidden, so that the items that are inside will not be able to float around, and they will not be able to leave that parent container. It's very important for us to know that. Okay, so next thing we are going to start is what? Euro container. All right, Euro container. Now we have the max width about 1 200 pixels. So just like we had for the header container, we have the max width of 1 200 pixels. We have the margin of what 0 or 2. We have the padding of what 0 40 pixels. And we have position of relative, and we have z index of what of 1. Now this z index is a property that helps you to specify that what one an element should be on top of another one. So when you specify property like z index, you are just trying to say that okay, you want this element what to be maybe on top or below, whichever way you want it. Okay, are we following? Are we hello? Okay. um Sorry, one sec. Can I see my screen? Sorry, please give me a minute.
Hi, Mr. Simi. Can you hear me? Hello, Mr. Simi.
Yes. Hello, Miss Aishat. I can hear you.
Okay.
I had to, I had to change my power source. That's why I asked for a minute,
Okay,
and I
great.
am back now.
All right, no
Yes.
problem. Somebody's
Thank you.
asking if you can share the code. I'm sure Mr. Simi will share it, and I will share it with the
Yes, I
other
will.
resources that will be shared in the community.
Yes, yes, yes. It will be shared. Okay. So I'm going to be um I'm trying to share my screen now. Please let me know when you can see my screen. Can you see my screen yet? Okay, I doubt it's visible yet. Okay. Sure. Thank you for that. Okay, it should be coming up in a minute. It should be up now. All right, great. Thank you. Can you see my Chrome browser? Oh, let me reshare then. Let me reshare. Just just a minute. Let me reshare. Okay, I'm resharing now, and you'll be able to see my screen just. Okay. I'm having just a little bit of difficulty, but can you see my screen now? Hello? Can you see my VS Code? I want to be sure that it is synchronized. Okay. Great. Thank you. All right, so I'm currently on my Chrome. Please confirm you can see that also.
No, I can just see your minimized screen. We can't see your Chrome.
Okay. I'm going to reshare lastly. I think that should be sorted. 1 minute. For some reason, this isn't coming up. The screen is not coming up. Okay,
Wow.
great. You should be able
Yeah,
to see
maybe you
my. You
should
should be able to.
leave and join again. Okay, we can see it now.
Okay, so you can see my VS Code now. Okay, great. Okay, great. I have a browser inside so I don't just leave this space. I'm just going to see I can open this in my browser. Hmm. For those that are just downloading VS Code for the first time, there are also things called extension that you can use to preview your HTML files right in your VS Code. Okay, so you can really use that also if you are not if you are not using your browser. Okay. Let me try to preview this. Can you see my Chrome now? Hello?
No, it's not showing.
Just the
We can see your
what can you
VS
see?
Code, but we can't see your Chrome.
Okay. Okay, I should be able to craft this up. All right, let me try to rejoin. I think I will just have to rejoin the call. That's as Miss Asha said earlier, and I would share again. I think something with my disconnection. Let me try to reshare, rejoin in a bit.
Okay, while we wait for Mr. Similoluwa to be back, how has it been, guys? You can use your comment section. I mean, we've learnt a lot today. A lot. A whole lot. Just use the comment section. Tell me how it has been. Just tell me one thing you've learned today. One thing you've learned today, because I think we've done a lot of CSS today. Can you guys hear me? Can everyone hear me? Somebody's sharing their screen. Who is that? Lewis, we are seeing your screen. Okay. So how is the teaching of the mentor? If you want to rate how the mentor is passing his knowledge, his information, what would you give him? Let's do that. Great. 10. It's very good, to be very honest. Nice. That's a great feedback. The lesson is doing well. I love it. Okay. For the person asking how they can access the recording, we upload our recordings on YouTube and we share it in the channel. Maxwell, are you on our Discord channel? Thank you, Esther. Maxwell, are you on our Discord channel? If you're in that Discord channel, I have shared the first recording for the first day. Oh, Jamila, thank you. The recording for the first day, I have shared it there. Um, you can get it there. Let me know if you can get it there, Maxwell. If you get it, let me know. Okay. Now that we know how the mentor is doing, I am happy with that feedback. Another question I think I want to ask is, what do you wish you've learned today that the mentor has not touched on? Or is it everything that you wanted to learn that the mentor has touched? Okay, responsive design. Jamila, I got that. Responsive design. Great. I think the mentor is seeing it. We can continue that a bit.
Yeah, I'm back now. Can anyone hear
Okay,
me?
great. Mr. Similolua, welcome. I'll mute my mic now.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right, guys. Let's get back into our session. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen shortly. Please let me know when you can see my screen.
Yes, I can see your screen.
Great, 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 great. Okay. So I'm going to be opening this. I'll be switching between these two tabs. Where were we? We're on the hero section. Okay, exactly. We're on the hero section. So what I'm going to do now, funny enough, we're almost done, right? We're almost done with starting the hero section. So I'm just going to go over to our styles and see how we can use. Okay, so we're over here where we're adding. I was explaining the z index. So like I was saying earlier, z index is just a way where you can, is a property that helps you um place elements on top of each other. So let's say for example, an object, you need an element to be on top of another element. If you put the z index of 100 and put the other element to the z index of 2 or even 99, this one will show on top of that one. You understand? That's if they overlap. Okay, so that's what z index is used for. So next going to be able, I'm just going to start our arrow content, the h1. I'm going to be starting the font size. I'm going to say what, 48 pixels for this one. Let's say 48 pixels for this one. And font width, just as you know it, the one that helps for what, for how bold it should look. Font width. Then line height, the one that makes it breathe. Line height and the max width. How, what's the maximum width you want to give it? So you specify all of this. I'm just going to be using all of this values, and then we're going to have margin bottom of 30 pixels. Remember, margin is that space outside your content. All right, so let's see how this looks. So see how beautiful this looks. Okay, so it says hello, I'm Haley, a full stack developer based in Kenya. Okay, so next we are going to also style the buttons. All right, we're going to style the buttons. We're going to say hero buttons. We're going to say display or flex. So flex, remember, it makes it side by side, and so if it wasn't side by side before, it would make it side by side. And then we give it a gap. Remember, gap makes it gives it a space in between. Then now let's come back again and see. So we have hero buttons, we just styled that. So now we have two buttons. Okay, so what we want to do, we want to style the buttons. All right, I believe we can, since considering the fact that what these buttons look different, we want to give them different styles also. All right, so what we can do is say, we say what class, what btn primary, and this one will be class of btn secondary. All right, so we'll come here and we say what btn primary. Don't forget to put your dots, very important. Then you have your background of what 1a 1a 1a, the color code. Then your color, which is the color of the text, with what fff. Then the border will be none, and the padding will be what 12 pixels at the top and bottom, 24 pixels left and right, because we are just using what two values. So the first value is going to be top and bottom, second value is we're going to be what left and right. Then next we're going to have border radius. Now border radius is the one that allows you to have what rounded edges border. Okay, border radius is going to be what 25 pixels. All right, then font size is going to be what 14 pixels. That's the font size of the text. So you see the border is already rounded, and then next thing we are going to have cursor pointer. Now see, when you have one, this is still using this normal cursor. Now see, when I change to cursor pointer, when I hover on it, see the cursor changes. Okay, cursor pointer. and then we have transition, and we have background. We want the background to always like animate anytime it changes. So let's just do this. So let's see. Yeah. So next we are just gonna say the primary button. When we over on the primary button, right? When we over on the primary button, in background should be what? 333. So let's see what happens. So you can see that little fade. Let me zoom in a bit. See that little fade. All right. So let me quickly finish up because of our time. So next we have BTN secondary, the background will be transparent. We don't want this one to have any background, so you can actually be transparent. Then the color, I think someone has their mic. Someone has their mic muted. Please mute your mic. The border will be what? 1 pixels GD. The padding. Please mute your mic if you can hear me. Thank you. So that will just 25 pixels. Mute your mic if you can hear me. 14 pixels for font size. Basically, just same thing we have for this one. And then we have same cursor pointer. And now we are going to be using transition, but we are going to be using all. When you use transition all, you are trying to say that what all the elements should be what 0.3 seconds, and you want to ease it in. Next, we now say what button secondary. When we over on button secondary, what do you want to happen? We want the border color to what be 1A1A1A, and that is basically it for this. So from tomorrow, we'll look at how we can have these gradient shapes and how we can do the about me page, even all of these other pages that we have. And tomorrow will be much more faster than this because we're covering a whole lot more. Please come prepared. Today I know that some of us will try to set up our VS Code. Some of us might not have set it up yet. So please um go through the recording and come prepared, and tomorrow we'll do a deep dive into how all of these things work. And I'm sure you also want to see how beautiful this would be once it's done and the process involved. All right. So that said, that'll be it for today. We have our header section and we have done our hero section, and then tomorrow we'll continue. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you for following through, and thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, Mr. Similolua. That was a very interesting hands-on section. I mean, I want to be seeing you guys screenshots in the community. For anybody that was able to do what Mr. Similolua did, the person that was able to follow through with Mr. Similolua from beginning till the end, or even if you did not follow through from beginning till the end, right? For wherever you've reached, share your screenshots if you are actually following Mr. Similolua. Share your screenshots in the community. I would really love to see them, right? Thank you very much again, Mr. Similolua. Let me ask, how many people want us to continue? Like, you want us to continue the section? Put it in the comment section. Let me see people that are hungry for knowledge. Let me see how many of us are hungry for knowledge. Well, ma, I know, right? The section was so interesting. It was as if we should finish up the website today, honestly. Another 30 minutes won't be bad. Oh, do you know that some people are students, some people are workers here. Some people want to go to work tomorrow, some people want to go to school, some people want to do something else. So we can't actually extend to 30, more 30 minutes. And the fact that even Mr. Smilulua would also have something else he wants to do with his time, right? So yeah, we can't extend to more 30 minutes. Tomorrow, by God's grace, we are going to meet again, same time, same location, and come prepared. After tomorrow, we still have Wednesday and the final day, Thursday, which is the day for our graduation ish, and the day we would actually like graduate, right? So yeah, Thursday will be the final day. Also, on that Thursday, you will be getting a project, a take home project, and that will be what will determine if you get certificate or not, honestly, because we can't go through all this learning, all this practical section, and you're not doing something tangible, something to show that you've actually passed through one dev's what's it called, training, even if it is free. So get ready. If you know that you are not following, go and go through the recording once again once I share it. Right. Thank you guys for joining. We would see you again tomorrow. I even forgot to ask, does anybody has any question for Mr. Similulua before we call it a day? Okay, I'm taking that as there is no question. Once again, thank you, Mr. Similulua, for that thorough section. We really appreciate you. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Do have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye, everyone.